Welcome to our lens home testing facility. And we are going to be going through, you can see I have a plethora of lenses to go through. Why are you doing this, Shane? Well, we have a whole new series of lenses that have been coming out over the last 5 years that have really kind of tipped the scales in the favor of the $56 to under $2,000 range. And I want to talk about why I'm excited about that, as well as what they have to hold up to. This is a $25,000 piece of glass. This Meister is a $5,600. So what are the differences? What's the pros? What the cons? We're going to go through attributes that I look for in cinematic quality. So let's start. The first one is going to be speed. I'm always looking for lens speed. A 1.3, a 1.4, a 1.8, a 2.4. When it goes up to a 2.4 and a 2.8 and a 4, those lenses are not going to be ones that I really am considering because the T-stops are not consistent. And you find that with a lot of primes. So the higher end primes will have consistent f-stops across all lenses, but then you look at the Arliss, Dizio Film Arliss, they're consistent 1.4 across all of them. This is a $2,500 lens. The Meister is a 1.3 across all their lenses except the 14 mil. So you can see how these cheaper lenses are really starting to up their game, and it's making it very exciting. Flaring. I'm always looking for flares. I love flares. I love how they have different colors. Sometimes they can be rainbows. I'm looking for unique attributes that say, God, I love when I look at the sun and it flares across there, or I catch this light and it looks beautiful. So flaring is something that we're going to be testing and going through. Metadata. Now in this world of AI and VFX worlds and LED walls, if you are not having a lens that has the metadata, so the smart lens technology where it has accelerators and deaccelerators in here, so it can tell you how fast you're panning and tilting, have all your focus, your T-stop, when it racks, all that kind of stuff, that is absolutely super important for saving money with VFX work. Now, out of all these lenses, the only one that has metadata tracking is the Meister for $5,600. So this is a good thing. You're having, $26,000 versus $5,600, and I'm getting meta tracking on this. So if I'm shooting a film and I cannot afford to get this glass and I have the ability to rent this or buy this glass, it's going to give me all the metadata that's going to set you up for success with VFX. And I've been down this road where I didn't use VFX metadata tracking glass on a last feature. And it really took a lot of time for VFX to be able to do that. Hindsight being 2020, if I go into a world where I'm creating a lot of blue or green worlds, or I have to basically do a ton of roto work to be able to bring this to life, I am going to go with the smart lenses for sure. The next thing I want to go into is the optical quality, the fall off, okay? So lenses that deliver 150 lines of resolution and they're even across the plane and you're seeing that resolution in all the corners, those are lenses that I'm not very excited about. They might look perfect, but they have no character. I'm looking for lenses that fall off on the edges so I can tell my stories in all unique ways. Because there's nothing better when you're going in on a close-up or an over the shoulder and you're having that slight fall off on the corners of the lens that really, once again, puts the sole focus on the person that's delivering the emotion. This is something I even do when I have lenses that are so perfect. I will actually build that in the post process where I'll have my senior colorist, Dave Cole, do this whole thing where he throws it out of focus or on all the corners and also adds aberrations. So almost like colored aberrations, because I'm looking to add character to the glass. So it's one thing that you can do in post, takes a little more time and it's not an organic. Well, I'm looking at these lenses today to see which ones do that, and I'm going to gravitate towards those. The other thing is blades and bokeh. I can tell you, when I shot Need for Speed, this was my first, I always had shot Cooke lenses up until that point, Cookes and Primos and Zeiss Ultra Primes. And when we went to the digital sensor, all of a sudden the bokeh turned into saw blades and stop signs. And I'll never forget setting up my first shot on Need for Speed in San Francisco, and I had all these beautiful out of focus lights in the background, and they all turned into stop signs. And it just didn't have that beautiful circular or cat eye or the anamorphic football bokeh. It just looked hardened. So that was a kind of, the Cooke glass only has 7 blades. The Agenus have 9. The Thalias have 15. The Zehnmeisters have 13. And the Arliss have 16. So the more blades, the ability for you to shoot at a higher f-stop, which, Christ, I don't like doing that, but whatever. There's a lot of people that like that deep depth of field. And if you're going for that, the Arliss and the Thalia are going to perform beautiful bokeh without stop sign or saw blades way into shooting at a net 5, 6, 8, 11. Okay, so now let's dive into this lens test. And we're gonna start with our still photographer transitioning into motion with either the G Masters or the Canon EF mount lenses onto the Blackmagic Ursa Cine LF. We are shooting at 8K at 5:1 compression, and we are going to go through each lens set and look at the attributes that I talked about and really dive into those. All right, let's get after it.